So this is week 2, day 4, video for foundations of algebra. So we'll look at linear equations in 2 variables, talk about plotting points, x, y intercepts, horizontal, vertical lines, midpoint formula. So first we'll look at just the plotting of ordered pairs. So just remember that you've got on your coordinate plane, you've got your quadrant 1, and then it just moves counterclockwise. Quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. In quadrant 1, remember you've got your ordered pairs that are both positive. And in quadrant 2, moving counterclockwise, you're going to have, quadrant 2 is left and up. So left on the x, up on the y. Quadrant 3 is left and down. Down meaning negative on the coordinate plane, left meaning negative, right meaning positive, up meaning positive. And then quadrant 4, you're going to move to the right and down. So those are your quadrants. You also have possible ordered pairs that would be on a line or on an axis. And so when you have that, something like this, that would be negative 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, but 0 on the y. And then on the y-axis, this is 0 on the x and negative 2 on the y. And then back to over here on the x-axis, you're to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0 on the y. And then here, you did not move anywhere on the x, and you moved 4 on the y. So those are not considered in a quadrant. Anytime you have an ordered pair on the x-axis or the y-axis, you are considered not in a quadrant, but is considered either an x-intercept or a y-intercept. So you're thinking about coordinates. So this would, first one, just starting this way, and then we'll just work our way down. So this would be left and up. That would be quadrant 2. This would be right and up. That's quadrant 1. This would be left and down, quadrant 3. Right and down, quadrant 4. 6, 0, 2, 0, 0, negative 3, 0, 5. All of these would not be in a quadrant. Now, this is 6, 0, so this is actually an x-intercept, another x-intercept. Here I've got 0 for x and a value for y, which means I know the y-intercept. And then 0, 0 is not in a quadrant, and it's considered to be the origin. So again, thinking about directions of plotting points, notice I was saying in my earlier talk left and right on the x-axis and up and down to represent movement on the y-axis. All right, so let's look at our next set of objectives. And with these, we're asking couple of things. In class, we looked at how we could graph them. So if we take this equation and put it into the y equal mx plus b format, then we could put it into y equals on the graphing calculator and graph it. So here's one method that we did in class, and that is taking it from standard to slope-intercept. So I'm going to subtract 6x. And that's going to give me negative 5y is equal to negative 6x minus or plus 30. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. And so y is equal to 6/5 x minus 6. That would be an equation that we could put into the graphing calculator. So you would go to y equal, type in this equation, then go to second graph, and you can look at the table. So we would check to see if any of these points would be on the line. Another way to do this is to substitute. 2 would substitute for x, 3 would substitute for y, and you're just checking to see if you get a true statement. This is 12 minus 15. This is negative 3 equals 30, and that is not correct. So this is not a solution. All that means is 2, 3 is not on that line. What about 5, 12? Well, 6, 5 minus 5, 12. So 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 12 is 60. You get negative 30 equals 30, and that's another one that's not a solution. Just means that 5, 12 would not be found on the line. What about, we've got 12, 18, and 15, 24. You would just substitute as you see it. So 6 times 12 minus 5 times 18 equals 30. And so you would just need to find out those values. So that's what, 6 times 12 is 60, and 12, so that's 72 minus 5 times 18. So that's 50, and 4, so that's minus 90. And then 72 minus 90 is not going to give us 30. So we're going to have negative 18 is equal to 30, and that's not true. So that's also not a solution. So we'll look at a few more here. So let's check 3, 1. So I'm just going to substitute 3 for x. Plus 2 times 1 equals 5. And so 3 plus 2 equals 5. So 5 equals 5. That's a check. Yes, a solution. That just means 3, 1 would be found when you graph that line. It would be an ordered pair on the line. So what about 9, 2? So 9 plus 2 times y equals 5. So 9 plus 4 equal 5. 13 does not equal 5, so this is not a solution. Negative 13, 4, so negative 13 for x, plus 2 times 4 equals 5. Negative 13 plus 8 equals 5. So negative 5 equals 5, and that's not true. So this one is not a solution. So that's what you're looking for when you have those types of problems. You just want to know if it's going to be a solution. Is that ordered pair going to be found in the table? So you could certainly solve this for y. So I would subtract x from both sides. So that would be negative x plus 5, and then divide everything by 2. So I would get y equal negative 1/2 x plus 5/2. This equation I would substitute into y equal, and then I would go to second graph to look at the table. I'm looking for every one of these. If I find those ordered pairs in the table, then I know that it's a solution. Another thing is that I could give you an equation y equal negative 3x plus 5, and from the graphing calculator, so I could type this in and then go to second graph and look for the table, and then I would ask you to just kind of fill in. So you would find a value when x is 0, what's y? When x is 1, what's y? When x is 2. So you're just completing a data table. So let's take this first one. So if I have x, y, and I want to create a data table, and I'm going to start at negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. And so I would just take y equal x minus 4 and put that into the y equal on your calculator, and then type second graph, and that takes you to your table. So then I just want to, because it says just pick a few coordinates, and so if I type in x minus 4, then I know negative 2 would be negative 6, negative 1 would be negative 5, 0 would be negative 4, 0 would be negative 4, but you knew that. Notice that that's your y-intercept. And then 1 would be negative 3, and 2 would be negative 2. So next, I would just type this one in as I see it, and I like to use parentheses around my fractions for my slope. So I would just type in negative 1 divided by 2 on the calculator, multiplied by x, plus, and notice that the y-intercept is also a fraction, so I can just put 5 divided by 2 in parentheses as well. And then I'm going to go to second graph, pulls up the table. So at negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, this allows me to look at some that are negative, some x values that are negative, some x values that are positive, and 0. So negative 2 would be 3.5, negative 1 would be 3, and 0 would be 2.5. So you notice that the slope here is negative 0.5, so it is dropping by 2 each time. So that's what I'm asking. And use the graphing calculator to create your table of data. Next, we're going to look at x and y intercepts given the standard form equation, and that's a big one right there. That you've got slope, intercept form, and that's your y equals m times x plus b, and then you also have your standard form, and that's your ax plus by equals c. So I want you to determine the x and y intercepts from the following equations. So we'll have 4x minus y equal 3. So what we mentioned in class was just kind of a way to organize it, is that we would put x intercept on the left, y intercept on the right, and so then we would have, if I have the x-intercept here, I'm just looking for the y value and the x value. So if I want the x-intercept on part A, 4x minus 0 equals negative 3. Notice where I put the 0, I put it in for y. So 4x is equal to negative 3, so x is negative 3/4, which means it's an ordered pair, negative 3, negative 3/4, comma 0. All right, what about the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept is, I'm going to put a 0 in for x. So that goes to 0, so negative y is equal to negative 3, so y is equal to 3. So 0, 3 would be the y-intercept. That's what I'm looking for. I'd like to see those ordered pairs to represent the x and y coordinates, because if I want to just do a quick sketch of this, and there's 1, 2, 3, then 0, 3 would be here, negative 3/4 would be about right there, and then it's just connect the points and you've got a sketch. So we are plotting it by the intercepts. Once you know the intercepts, you go ahead and graph those. So part B, was 2x minus y equal 4. So my x-intercept, my y-intercept. So I'll take 2x minus 0 equal 4. So 2x equal 4. So divide by 2 and you get x is 2. So 2, 0 is one intercept. The other one is 2, 0 minus y equal 4. So that goes to 0. So negative y is equal to 4. So positive y is equal to negative 4. So 0, negative 4 would be your two intercepts that I'm looking for. Part C would be 2x plus 3y equal 12. So x-intercept would be 2x plus 3 times 0 equal 12. The y-intercept would be 2 times 0 plus 3y equal 12. So this goes to 0, so 2x is equal to 12. Divide by 2, x is 6. So 6, 0 would be the x-intercept there. This goes to 0, so 3y equals 12. Divide by 3, you get 4. So 0, 4 would be the y-intercepts and the x-intercepts. So these two represent this equation. So if I wanted just a quick sketch here, 2, 0, 0, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I would just draw the line that connects those 2 points. And if I do the same here, 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, so 0, 4, and then there's my line. Let's look at a few more. So negative 4x minus 5y equals 20. So if I want my x-intercept, I'm going to take negative 4x minus 5 times 0 equals 20. So negative 4x equals 20, and x, so divide both sides by negative 4, and you're going to get 20 divided by negative 4, which is negative 5. So negative 5, 0. And then my y-intercept would be negative 4, 0 minus 5y equals 20. That goes to 0. Negative 5y equals 20. Divide both sides by negative 5, and y is negative 4. So you'd have 0, negative 4. And a quick sketch would put 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5 over here, 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. Go ahead and connect your points. And let's look at one more. How about number C on number 9? X minus 2y equals 8. We're looking for the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts, and we're going to do a quick sketch. So x-intercept will be x minus 2 times 0 equals 8. That goes to 0. X is 8, so 8, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0. And then x, remember x would be, we want y-intercept, so 0 for x minus 2y equals 8. So negative 2y equals 8. Divide by negative 2, you're going to get negative 4. So 0, negative 4, those would be your intercepts. So we've already plotted 8, 0. 0, negative 4 is here. And you've got your graph. So those are your x and y intercepts. That was one way we looked at it in class, was just to kind of two columns there. One where I'm solving for the x-intercept, which means I'm substituting a 0 in for y. The other one is the y-intercept, where I'm substituting a 0 in for x. All right, we're going to look at graphing horizontal and vertical lines and finding the midpoint. So once you kind of understand the format of this, of how this should look, well, then you would know that I'm actually going to graph A and B on one graph and C and D on the other graph. So on A and B, when y is 4, notice it says y equal 4, so I need to hit the y-axis at 4. So the only way to do that is to put a vertical line. So that is your y equal 4. X equal negative 3, well, that's going to be over here at x equal negative 3, and it's going to be a vertical line as y equal 4 was a horizontal, x equal negative 3 is a vertical. On C, you've got y equal negative 2. I know I got to hit the y-axis at negative 2, so the only way to do that is draw a horizontal line. And then x equal 5 is to draw a vertical line at x equal 5. So notice that this equation is solved for x. It's vertical. It crosses the x-axis. Notice y equal negative 2. It will be horizontal. And notice that it crosses the y-axis. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to graph A and B and C and D on the same graphs. So A is y equal negative 6. That just means we're going to be down 3, 4, 5, 6. Horizontal line. This is y equal negative 6. X equal 1 is positive, so we know it's going to be a vertical line. Passing through x is x equal 1. Okay, so y equal negative 6 was here. X equal 1 was here. Y equals 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to draw a horizontal line there. So y equals 7 is here. X equal negative 3 is a vertical line at x equal negative 3. So with the horizontal and vertical lines, you really just are looking at what letter do I see? For instance, on 11 part A, what letter do I see? I see Y. Well, I know that I've got to cross through the Y-axis, so I know it's going to be horizontal. Look at B, x equal 1. Which axis am I going to cross? The only one that's there, X. So I know it's going to be a vertical line. Now I just need to know, is it to the right of 0 or to the left of 0? And since we have x equal 1, it's to the right of 0. Look at part C, y equals 7. You know it's a y equal, so it's got to cross the y-axis, so it's going to be a horizontal line. Now, is it going to be above 0 or below 0? And since it says y equals 7, you know it's going to be 7 units above 0. Look at x equal negative 3. Well, I see an x, so I know it's got to hit the x-axis, so I know it's going to be vertical. Is it going to be to the right of 0 or left of 0? And I see negative 3, so I know it's got to be to the left of 0 and a vertical line, and I can draw it. So the midpoint. Think about a midpoint on an x and y axis, on x and y plane there. If I had a point here and a point here, then you know the midpoint's going to be somewhere in here. It's just got to be between those 2 points halfway. So it's kind of like you're finding an average. That's why you take the x values from here and add it to the x values here, and then you divide it by 2, which puts you in the middle as an average distance. All right, so 13, let's look at this first one. I want to find the sum of -8 and -2, and I want to take half of it, and then I want to take y and y, so that would be 4 plus -6 divided by 2. And then -8 plus -2 is a -10 divided by 2. 4 plus -6 is -2 divided by 2. So -10 divided by 2 is -5. -2 divided by 2 is -1. So -5, -1 would be the midpoint between those 2 points. Okay, what about this one here? So -10 plus 7 and 4 plus 1. So I'm adding my x's, I'm adding my y's. -10 and 7 are both x values. 4 and 1 are both y values. So what's -10 plus 7? That's going to be -3 halves. 4 plus 1 that's 5 halves. So you got -3 halves, or -1.5 divided by 2.5. That would be your ordered pair between -10,4 and 7,1. Okay, and then let's look at 5,2 and -1,8. If I want to find the midpoint, it'd be 5 plus -1 divided by 2, and 2 plus 8 divided by 2. So 5 plus -1 is 4 divided by 2. 2 plus 8 is 10 divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. You get 2, 5. The ordered pair 2, 5 would be the midpoint between 5, 2 and -1, 8. All right, finally, we're going to look at finding the slope of a line. And what does that mean? Oh, it's just how the x values are changing and how the y values are changing. So if you had a line between 2 points here, you're just looking at how much does it increase on the y and how much does it increase on the x. This is called your rise divided by your run. Rise is how much you rise or fall on the y-axis. Your run is how much you run left and right on the y-axis, or the x-axis. So all of these, rate of change, rise divided by run, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, those are all ways to say slope. So if I want to find the slope between 2 points, I'm going to use this formula, and I like to do y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2 because I like to look left to right. So I'm going to start here, and I like to say, all right, my y's are -1 minus 3, -1 minus 3 divided by 2 minus -5. And that would be -4. And what's 2 plus 5 become? 7. So -4/7 would be your slope between the point 2, 1 and -5, 3. Let's look at this third one. -2, -3, -1, 5. I like to start here. So -3, subtract 5. And then -2, subtract -1. So -3 minus 5 is -3 plus a -5, which would be -8. And then this goes to addition. So that'd be +1. The slope is still -8. All right, let's look at negative 4, 1. Negative 4, 1, and 2, negative 6. So notice that there's not any other negative 4s and there's not any other 1s that are repeating. So we're going to start with this 1. So 1, take away negative 6, and negative 4, take away 2. What's negative minus negative become? And it becomes addition, so this should be 1 plus 6. And then negative 4 and a negative 2 should be negative 6. So this will be 7, 6, or negative 7, 6. Negative 1 and 1/6 would be the slope. Now, what's interesting is on the second to last one where you've got 2, 4, and negative 4, 4, what you have are the y values repeating. So if the y values repeat, that means you've got a number 2, 1, 2, 3, you got a number 2, 4, but you also have a negative 1, 2, 3, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have a horizontal line. That's if the y values repeat. Well, what if the x values repeat? So on the very last problem, you got 5, negative 3, and 5, 2. So the x values are repeating, just means that you would have 5, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. So that's finding slope from 2 points. Here we can see if with the blue line that the rise and the run would end up being the same, and that's what parallel lines are. The parallel lines slopes are equal, and slopes are the same, but the y-intercepts can be different. Otherwise, if they're parallel lines and the y-intercepts are the same, you're going to have an infinite number of solutions. Perpendicular slope, you notice that one's going a rise and a run, and the other one's going a rise, or this one's going rise to the positive and run to the positive. This one's going rise to the positive and run to the negative. So the negative reciprocal slopes, you could say that they are negative they are negative reciprocal slopes. So here we can determine if the slopes are the same. So what it's going to do is involve us to take these and set them equal to y. So x plus 4y equals 7, I'm going to subtract x. I just did that from here to here. I subtracted x from both sides, and I need to divide by 4. So x is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 7/4. And then I need to compare it to this one. So 4x minus y equals 3. I'm going to subtract, I'm actually going to add the y over and subtract the 3 over. So 4x minus 3 equals y. Now, here I've got a negative 1/4. And here I've got a 4 to 1. If you multiply those, you're going to get negative 4 divided by negative 4, or positive 4, and that's going to equal negative 1. So let's look at C. I'm going to have 2x equals y plus 3, and 2x plus x equal 3. So I'm going to solve for y, so I'm going to subtract 3. So 2x minus 3 equals y. There's one equation. And the other one, I'm going to subtract x. So that'll be 2y equals negative x plus 3. Divide by 2. Y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 3/2. There's your other equation. Now notice the slope here is 2 to 1. Notice the slope here is -1 to 2. And the 1/2 is a reciprocal of 2 to 1, and it's got you've had a better attitude, better sign. Sign's negative, sign's positive.